In this episode of Talking About Orcs, we're going to be going over Lootas. Lootas are, of course, essentially boys with really big guns. They have all the exact same stats of a boy, so 5-inch move, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 5, strength and toughness 4, 1 wound, 2 attacks, 6 leadership, and a 6-up save. You can have 5 to 15 Lootas in a unit, and each Lootas is armed with a def gun and stick bombs. And for every 5, you can replace one with a spanner, and the spanner is armed with either a custom mega blaster, big shooter, or rocket launcher. So the def gun, of course, is 48-inch range, heavy D3, strength 7, -1 EP, and 2 damage. And the ability there has been actually a fact. So before you rolled it, the number of shots once per phase. Now it's once each time you shoot it, which is important for the bad moons showing off stratagem. And just a quick side note, it's not the mech in there, there's a spanner, is not a horrible thing to do. You can't give them custom mega blaster, so which is not a bad weapon. But if you have them next to some mech guns, especially custom mega cannons that might hurt themselves, you can sit there and repair wounds with your spanner boy of the mech guns he's next to. So this is kind of an idea. It's not a great use for it, but it's something you can do. They have Irigo, Mob Rule, and Daka. And it's the spanner can fix 1 friendly clan vehicle and regains 1 lost wound. It said this would be useful for custom mega cannons, really, more than anything else. So what are the def guns going to be good at shooting? Pretty much everything. Anything that isn't toughness 8, the def guns are going to be very effective against it. At the -1 AP and just 2 damage, 2 damage just stacks up so quickly with this number of shots. Because again, a full unit of 15 is going to have either 15, 30, or 45 shots. And with Daka, that can actually add up to be quite a bit of damage. Especially considering they don't worry about modifiers, especially if you're shooting at flyers. Lootas, when the flyers first came into 40k, Lootas were one of the best anti-flyer units, and they are still one of the best anti-flyer units. Because most flyers are only going to be toughness 6. And since the Lootas are going to be hitting on 6s, no matter what minuses the flyers have, so those stupid Eldar planes that have -2 or -3 to hit, yeah, you don't care, especially if you use the more Daka stratagem on them. So Lootas are still the king of anti-flyer shooting, even over the tractor cannons. Tractor cannons are really best at when the plane is down to its last few wounds, and that's when you hit it with the tractor cannon. So you Lootas do most of the damage. If he has like 2 wounds left, that's when you hit it with the tractor cannon and finish it off. That's always the fun part to do. But pretty much anything, especially anything that's like 2 wounds, like anything Primaris or Terminator, is going to be very good targets for def guns. Especially was it 1,000 Sun Terminators, where they have the rule they ignore 0 AP. Or they ignore, there's something about they ignored, oh, that's right, they ignore the AP of single damage weapons, or reduce the AP of single damage. Oh, I can't remember the exact rule. There's something about Lootas on the 1,000 Suns Terminators that your opponent will not like at all. But light vehicles, rhinos, predators are great targets for Lootas. Anything Dark Eldar vehicles, Venoms, Ravagers, Raiders, all those are great targets for Lootas. The Eldar grav tanks, not so much, because they have that rule, the Serpent Shield, where they reduce the damage by 1, and that really, really hurts your Lootas a lot. Taking them from 2 to 1 damage, yeah. They're not going to be that great against the Eldar vehicles. But Dark Eldar, Eldar Flyers, pretty much everything else. Anything from Space Marines that's not toughness 8. Dreadnoughts are great. Primaris Marines are going to be great. So yeah, there's really very few targets that Lootas are going to be ineffective against. Now, Lootas, despite having the mob up rule nerfed and no longer applying to Lootas, they're still appearing in a lot of the high-end competitive lists. especially in bad moons. Because with the re-rolling ones on these guys, you can get crazy. You got that many shots, you're re-rolling ones, and of course any ones that come up be a 6, they get an additional shot in addition to that. Re-roll additional ones. Yeah, bad moons Lootas can get quickly out of hand. And of course, bad moons Lootas have access to the showing off stratagem, where they can shoot twice in a turn, which is not bad at all. And of course, and with freebooters, you know, Lootas hitting on 4s sounds pretty darn good to me. The other clans, you know, you're probably not going to want to run Lootas on any other clans, even Death Skulls. Maybe if you run minimum units of 5, you might want to give them Death Skulls so they can get that 1 reroll per turn and 1 reroll to wound. Of course, there's fixed damage, so that doesn't help. But yeah, basically, bad moons or freebooters are going to be what you're going to run your Lootas as. So obviously the problem with Lootas is that they are just orc boys, which means they have no survivability. And that's where the most important stratagem in the book comes from. Grot Shield comes into play, is Grot Shield. You have to be able to Grot Shield your Lootas. And if you can't, they're just going to evaporate, because they may be the stats of orc boys, but they're 17 points a pop. And so they're pretty expensive, and they're going to be a fairly high priority target for your opponent because they can do a lot of damage, especially with Mordecai or hitting on 4s, one or the other. And another thing to remember about Grot Shield, of course, is that you have to be a matching clan. Grot Shield only works if the Grots and the infantry being shielded are the same clan. And you have to look out for that, because if you're running Lootas and you're souped up Shaka, you have to look out for snipers. If your opponent's running snipers, you might want to try and save your Grot Shield for your souped up Shaka, but then your Lootas become vulnerable. So if that's the case, you might want to consider putting the Lootas in Teleporta. So they come in turn 2, drop down behind some Grots, and then use more DAC on them, so they're hitting on 5s and 6s. It's just an idea, something to think about when you're playing if your opponent has snipers. Or of course, you can always just keep your souped up Shaka hiding and then just move them into position when it's ready to fire on your turn, and try and take out those snipers. But that's just something to think about when you're playing Lootas. So Lootas are still absolutely fantastic, even if you can't mob them up anymore. And so you probably don't want to take 2 units, because again, you can only Grot Shield 1 of them. You might want to put, and if you do consider 2 units, you might want to put 1 in Teleporta. That way, if the first one gets shot up, you can replace them, or on that first turn you can Grot Shield the first unit, and then on your second turn drop down the second unit, and then have both of them available to shoot. And of course, the one that drops down you'll probably want to use more DAC on. So there's still lots of ways to use Lootas. Lootas are still, as I said, they're still absolutely fantastic, especially against anything that's toughness 6 or below, or it has 2 wounds per model, units that have 2 wounds per model. They're going to be great against. And they might lose a little luster against salamanders, where they ignore that -1 AP. That could kind of hurt you, so keep an eye out on that too. But I've had Lootas hitting on 4s, and I'm sure most everyone has played Lootas, and if you haven't, please try them out. And again, but you got to have those Grots. Lootas without Grot Shield, even the Force Field won't work. Pain Boy, even a Force Field Pain Boy combination isn't good enough. You need to have a significant number of Grots in front of these guys, or they're just going to get shot off the table quickly, and you can't have that. So, you know, you can use distractions, fast-moving targets to get into your opponent's face, other things that shoot, but even with all that, Lootas are going to be a high-priority target. You got to have the Grot Shields. So let me know what you think about Lootas in the comments below. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching this episode of Talking About Orcs. Please subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications for new Talking About Orcs videos every Wednesday, new battle reports every Friday, and hobby videos whenever I can. Thanks for watching.